Love, light, and blessing. Shamanic Ally Priestess here. I literally just got home. As you know, I recently recorded a video pretty much calling everyone to action because of what recently happened to George Floyd. This is not a tarot video. This is not a spiritual video. This is none of that. So trigger warning. This is a video because I'm going to use my platform to talk about racial inequalities, to call upon the spiritual community. Hashtag we can't breathe. Hashtag I can't breathe. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag Brown Lives Matter. I no longer want to be quiet. A lot of people say you can't mix politics and spirituality. And I respect that opinion. However, I can't take this off. I can't take my skin color off. So in everything in life, not only am I a woman, but I am a woman of color. That's how the world sees me. So when people say they don't see color, I beg to differ. Racism has been a plague in this country since the Native Americans who were here first were colonized and enslaved, and when that population started to die out and they were forced to go in hiding, forced to go into reservations, they brought the Africans from Africa to America and various other parts of the world and forced them to be enslaved for hundreds of years. And then when we were freed, we had a different form of slavery, sharecropping, systematic racism, segregation, Jim Crow, lynching. And I have never in my channel spoken about politics, honestly. But when you have the President of the United States of America saying things like, when the looting starts, we start shooting, literally quoting a white supremacist in a tweet where Twitter literally had to flag and give a warning about his tweets. When a president says in Charlatan, there are good people on both sides. When a president calls African countries and Haiti shithole countries. When a president openly makes fun of a disabled man during his campaign, and I, the mother of an autistic son, that's why I did not vote for him. When a president literally says to grab the private parts of a female, he grabs them by the private parts. When a president cannot say what happened to George Floyd as being a literal murder that was taped, a literal modern day lynching that was literally televised, the video went viral, and when he cannot call it what it is, police brutality and murder, I cannot be quiet. As a daughter of a black woman, as a daughter of an indigenous Puerto Rican man, as a woman of color, I cannot be quiet any longer. I cannot pretend and make deck reviews and do all these things when inside I'm dying inside of seeing these injustices. These are things, when I do spirituality, why is spirituality so important to me? Because these are the things that I go to my Black and Native American spirits. I light candles and I pray to them for justice. My spirituality is my consolation. When I heard that Reverend, when I was watching the live televised and he was making the speech and he said, I don't know why any of you guys are clapping, and he literally in tears tried to motivate the black community, because a lot of people don't want to give, they don't want to give accolades where accolades are. A lot of times when our ancestors were enslaved, when they were going through Jim Crow, segregation, and all these things, it was the black church that was also a part of the civil rights fighting. You have people that are trying to divide people by mentioning that allegedly he has a white fiance, which I don't see his family backing that up. Why does that matter who he was dating? At the end of the day, an unarmed man was killed, was held down by other videos that are showing it was actually 3 people that were holding him down. Allegedly, he was resisting arrest, but all the videotapes that I watched, and I watched several, I've been researching this matter very intensively. I'm coming with the receipts because I want to have an open discussion about this. There was a video surveillance outside of a public building that does not show him resisting any arrest. Shows him being moved out of a vehicle, shows him being handcuffed. He's of course upset, he's being locked up, but he had never hit anybody, lunged at anybody, or anything like that. He calmly sat down against the wall. He was crossed over the street. They showed that he fell over. It was a faraway video, so I don't know if he fell over because maybe he was nervous. I don't know, or they pushed him down. I can't specify, but I do know that he fell over on the floor. Once he fell on the floor, 3 officers thought it was okay. One to put his knee, literally put his knee, and they counted how long in the video, for 9 minutes. The weight of this officer on his neck, while another officer put their knee on his side and on the other one on his leg, and then mocked him and told him to get up, and this is why we don't do drugs, and so on and so forth. All because supposedly there was a counterfeit $20 bill. I've known people that accidentally have gotten counterfeit money, because you know money is exchange, and you might not know that when you're going to a store or something, somebody might be giving you counterfeit money. It happened. My mom got counterfeit money one time of a bank. You would think that a bank would know if money wasn't counterfeit, and they were able to trace where the money came from and found out if the bank was at fault, because they have to confiscate the money. These people called the cops on him, and now he's dead. And this is what I'm talking about when I said the video that I made that I wasn't in my house, so I didn't feel comfortable recording my surroundings. So all you see is like a black table that I was literally putting the camera down on, my cell phone camera. I'm home now, obviously, so I'm going to make this video, and then I'm going to go through this weekend my emails, because I got a lot of people that booked me this weekend, so I could schedule you guys out. The latest I should be getting back to you is Sunday. And I also have to catch up on my comments on YouTube and things like that, but that's besides the point. When I saw all these videos, I wanted to see, because I'm one of those people, I don't like to jump on a bandwagon. I like to be, was this racism? What happened? And none of the videos that I've seen, he's resisted arrest once. You can hear him calling out to his mother, who died about a year or 2 before his death, because he was in so much pain. They're claiming that they were holding him down so hard that he urinated on himself. People saw blood coming out of his nose. When people were like, oh, but nobody was stopping this. The people that were recording did try to stop it. There was a white woman actually in the crowd that said, I believe she said she was an EMT or some type had some kind of medical training. And she was asking numerous times, you're killing him, check his pulse. There was another black woman that said the same thing. There was an African-American man, same thing. Check his pulse, you're killing him. The people from the store that called the cops got concerned when they saw this. One of the nephews, and was saying, like, what are you doing? And they wanted him to go inside, because they just wanted him to go inside because they didn't want him to get involved. The guy was like, just go inside, because maybe he was trying to defuse the situation. You see the other officer, the 4th officer, the one that's not touching him, backing people out. They're threatening to throw pepper spray. We also have to remember, if a crowd lunges at police officers, not only that, they probably were not trying to contribute to his death, because they were hoping they would get his knee off his neck, because if you charge at cops, they're going to start shooting everybody around them. They're going to tase people. They're going to pepper spray people. These people had guns. Everybody in the crowd that was watching was unarmed. You don't know what you're going to do when you're in that type of situation. So they did the best they could was by recording it. Somebody was recording from the other angle, so from the other side, where you could see the 3 people on top of him. They also showed that too, because somebody was walking up to the scene of the crime. It was a crime. It was murder. Even the mayor of Minneapolis said this is murder. A lot of people are not understanding why at first these men were not arrested. Now, yes, Chauvins, okay, the guy who actually had his knee on Mr. George Floyd, was arrested, but why? It was after 3 days of civil unrest. There's also stories that they're trying to detract from Mr. George Floyd's death by just showing the violence, the riots, and things like that. But there's evidence. A lady saw her ex-husband on TV and said, I know this guy in plain clothes. That's my ex-husband. He works for the police department, okay? There are stories of people being paid to vandalize, to distract, and to deflect. T.I.'s daughter actually has video footage of like hundreds of cops wall to wall protecting Mr. Chauvins, so that make sure that nobody goes against him. Who was protecting George Floyd when he was killed the way that he was killed? And every time they show videos like this, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to see the video footage. They overanalyze. They try to make an excuse. There's no excuse. He didn't, like, even if this guy was an armed robber, which he wasn't, and was holding up that convenience store, he did not deserve to be treated like that. There's school shooters that literally shot up schools and children. They got taken to Burger King and consoled, oh, he had a troubled childhood. Why is it that there's always an excuse for every other person for when they do crimes? But something as simple as a supposedly counterfeit $20 bill caused somebody to die. And this is not the first. It's beyond Mr. George Floyd. It's beyond that. It's beyond that. Now they have controversial preliminary autopsy saying, which just sounds like jargon to kind of, being that they work for the police, kind of like, yes, it could have been that, but we're not going to say it's directly that kind of thing. And this is why the family is going to hire their own independent person to perform an autopsy. Outside of that, I think that's a great idea. Okay. I wanted to show you a stat too. As of 2017, so 3 years ago, okay, because I was trying to find like the most accurate and recent statistics, there were 234,370,202 white Americans. This is in the United States. That's the white population. The white population in the United States makes up 73% of people. In the year 2017, there was 370 white people that were killed by police officers. There's always, but there's more white people that are killed than black people. I want to show you stats. We're going to talk stats now, not opinions, stats. 370. Out of those 370 people killed by police officers, 83% of them was because of violent crimes. 83% of them were armed. 83% of them were armed. As of 2020, 42 white Americans have been shot by cops. Now we're going to go into the black population. The black population, 73% of the United States population is white, the majority. Black people make up only 12% of the United States population. Yet, statistically, they're 2.5% more likely to be killed at the hands of white officers a year. 1 in 1,000 black men every year, men and boys, are killed by white officers. 235 of them are killed a year. If we only make 12% of the population, and this statistic says that more, like 75% of the people that I just named were unarmed. 75% of the people that I just quoted, 235 in the year of 2017, were unarmed. The majority of the white people that make up almost the same amount were 83% armed, meaning they got shot because the cops literally felt threatened. So basically, black people, statistically, who make up only 12% of the population, are almost 3 times more likely to be killed at the hands of white officers. And most of the time they're unarmed and for non-violent crimes. I'll state it again, non-violent crimes. There was a woman recently, Breonna Taylor from Kentucky, an EMT that was working during the COVID-19 crisis, was shot in her home with a search warrant that they never announced who they were. And her boyfriend, who had a licensed gun, legal gun, started shooting. What will you do if somebody kicks down your door in plain clothes, shoot the love of your life while she's sleeping in her underwear in her bed? Logically, you're going to grab your gun and you're going to shoot because you're going to think home invasion. He was arrested for attempted murder of the officers. But because he got a lawyer, and the lawyer got a hold of the audio that was played, that when he called the police, he thought they were having a home invasion. This woman, who is a first response hero, Breonna Taylor, say her name, was shot down like an animal while she was sleeping. And they've come to find out the person they were looking for was already arrested. So basically, there were no drugs like they thought they were in that place. There was no reason for them to even have broken into this place, never announcing themselves, not in uniforms. That's terror. Thank God his attorney was able to get audio to prove that this guy was not trying to kill anybody. He was just defending his woman who is shot and killed, and she's gone now. She's gone now. 1 in 3 blacks, unarmed, are killed every year. It is one of the highest rates of death in the black community. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, a black man who was jogging, unarmed, who was killed by white supremacists. And it took months for them to arrest these men. Tamir Rice, Trayvon Martin, Oscar Grant, Eric Gardner, Philando Castile, Samuel Du Bois, Sandra Bland, Walter Scott. Black and brown lives matter. How long are you going to stand behind your television set and say, oh, that's messed up? If you're an ally, then be an ally. You're either with the white supremacist racist people, or you for brown and black lives. How long will we fight this battle by ourselves? When my dark-skinned son wanted to get a job this summer, I told him he was only allowed to get a job during the daytime because I live in the city and we're highly policed. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen black boys and brown boys being harassed by police officers because we're over-policed where I live. How many times in the South Bronx did I watch cops take sticks and crack their heads open to teenagers for doing things that teenagers do? When I see police, I'm scared. I almost lost my life I almost lost my life because of police brutality. Tased and beaten to the point where the NAACP said I had a case. But I was afraid to pursue it because I knew, like they told me, don't, just remember, your life is in danger and the police will retaliate against you. It is very rare that you even get a conviction when they kill us. Hashtag I can't breathe. Hashtag we can't breathe. Even the pandemic is showing the open wound of racism in the United States of America, a country that was founded on the colonization of indigenous and black people. Land that was stolen by the First Nations that lived here first, my ancestors. Yet we tell immigrants, you're not welcome here. But the pilgrims were welcomed here. What must it take for the spiritual community to rise up and say, this is wrong? Not one more life, not one more black or brown person will die of tyranny and racism and oppression. I'm tired of being quiet. I'm tired of being told, stop being an angry brown person. I'm tired. If you don't like what I'm saying, you could click off my video. But I will not be quiet because I can't breathe. Our current administration is racist. Look what they did to Puerto Rico. Look what they did to the Virgin Islands. %60 of my brown and black brothers and sisters are dying of COVID-19. 60%. Again, we make up 12% of the population. Why? Because of systematic racism, lack of health care, poverty. According to a study that was done in Rollins School of Public Health at Emory and Johns Hopkins University, Bloomberg School of Public Health, the University of Mississippi, the Medical Center of Georgetown University, and O'Neill Institute of Nation and Global Health. They have studied and said 60% of the death rate of COVID-19 is directly affecting the black community. So when you say Orishas and Loas resonate with me, but that's outside of my culture, then stand up with brown people. If those black spirits resonate with you and that's outside your culture, then stand with black and brown people. If Native American shamanism resonates with you, then stand with the Navajo Nation that has an unjustified and high rate of COVID-19 cases. 94% of indigenous women a year are raped, are sexualized, are sexually assaulted in the United States of America. They make 0.8% of the population. Because people sexualize and fetishize Native American women. It's why I barely straighten my hair. Because I get comments like, oh, you sexy Pocahontas, you. Most of my life, when my Native American features stand out, I get sexually targeted by men of different races. That's why I hated the Disney movie Pocahontas. %94 of Native American women are sex trafficked and raped. 94%. When does the media talk about that? There's so many indigenous women that are missing because they're the highest sexually trafficked women. So when you're buying these decks, oh yes, I love shamanism, then stand up for the First Nation people. Donate, march for them, march for them. When they were trying to stand up, when dogs were biting their skin off, when they were getting water canyon, when they were getting rubber bullets shot into them, when the media was blacked out from reporting that they were trying to fight against this current administration, when they were drilling oils in their sacred lands, breaking sovereignty, breaking the peaceful deals that America made with them, the treaties, when they were burying up indigenous lands for oil. Where were all those people that resonated with shamanism? Were you marching with them? Was you standing with them? Were you standing with DAPL? When you resonate with African spirituality, or I do hoodoo, I love it. Are you standing up for black people? Are you marching for people? Are you saying not one more, we're done? There was literally, when I was watching today, and this was my breaking point, when an Afro-Latino, a black man who also has Latino descent, Omar Jimenez, was literally arrested, the only reporter arrested when he was covering the riots in Minneapolis. And if it wasn't for CNN, the president of CNN calling and being outraged and yelling at the governor of Minneapolis, of Minnesota, to release his reporter. He was arrested on live television for no reason. But thank God he had connections. And so he was released about an hour and a half later. What if there were no cameras rolling? What if he would have been another black man that was arrested and shot? Because George Floyd was recorded. What if he wasn't? He would have been another statistic. Another black person. I have a brother who constantly, when there was the stop and frisk, he was always stopped and frisked, asked about where he was going. That's what my oldest son, who's my darkest child, I do not allow him to work at night because I don't want the police stopping my son getting upset like he has the right to be, and him getting the next one to get shot. Literally, on more than one occasion, I have been in bad situations with police for no reason of my own fault. When one of my neighbors tried to assault me with a weapon, actually, because he was saying racial slurs, and I defended myself, and my ex-husband got in the way because he was going to hit him, and I held him back because he was going to hit me with a metal pole. And the cops knew that because my ex-husband admitted that. I was told, well, you made him upset, you shouldn't have said anything. My neighbor was never arrested. And it was my fault because I was an aggressive black woman, brown woman, you know. If I would have just kept my mouth shut and been a good girl, this would have never happened. I don't know what else to say anymore. I'm tired. Like, I'm literally, like, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm literally tired. Like, I'm so tired of having to keep my mouth shut. You know, I have a tarot business, so, I might make people upset and they don't want to, like, buy things from me, or a lot of people are going to unsubscribe from me if I don't say certain things. Yes, I do stand up for a lot of stuff, but I always try to stay away from politics, but I can't do it no more. Anybody out there who is a person of color that has a YouTube channel, know that your life matters, your voice matters, your channel matters. Don't be afraid to speak out. We have to stop being quiet. We have to stop trying to conform to what they want us to be. And just say what you have to say. You know how many people are like, I want to comment on your videos, but I'm afraid of getting shunned by the spiritual community, so I just personally email you or put something on Skype because they're afraid to use their voice. That's sad. And I don't even know, like, I don't know. You know, I did research on poverty just to put something else in perspective. So African American people make up 12% of the population. 23% of African Americans live below poverty. 12% of the population, as compared to their white counterparts, who only 8.1% of white people make up the poverty population, the below poverty population. So just think about that. 13.7 million of them. There's only a 4 million% difference between black and white people, who make up 73% of the population. 25% of Native Americans, who only make up 600,000 of the United States population, 0.8 of the population, 25% of them are in poverty. Native Americans are the most impoverished people, and right next to them are African American people. So when people sit here and tell me racism is done, you had a black president, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to jump up and down and be like, woohoo, we had a black president? Racism is over now. Oh, they arrested this man. Racism is over now. What about the 3 other people? What about all the other people that got lynched? Ahmaud Arbery and Trayvon Martin and their killers got away with them pretty much. Or Breonna Taylor. There's a tape of a video of a white woman who literally says they're purposely letting black people die in the hospitals. I believe her. Even though I make a good amount of money, when it came to renting homes and things like that, I have been discriminated against and told, this is a good place, we don't have crimes here. Denied things when my credit is actually decent, and I've had other people of Caucasian descent apply for the same place, and I actually have better credit and make more money, and they get approved and I don't. That's why I want to leave the state of Pennsylvania. I'm going to. I can't take Pennsylvania anymore. So racist here. Are you for us? Are you against us? Are you? This is the question that I want to ask in this video. Are you really an ally? If our cultural practices resonate with you, then the people of that culture should resonate with you. The people of that culture should be the people that you uplift. If we're a spiritual community, I shouldn't be the only one that's talking about this. There's so many people of color that are afraid to talk about things because we're pretty much told to shut up. I've seen it in the comment section. I've seen people of color trying to make political videos about not liking Trump and getting like people attacking them and things. I've had to disable comments of my own videos because of white supremacists and trolls. And people saying, oh, I'm an ally, but then when it comes time to stand up for injustices, those allies are pretty quiet. A lot of times as a woman of color, I feel alone. And I'm not the only one. We're made to feel like we can't express our real feelings and we have to smile. Unless you lived in our shoes, you will never understand how we feel. Oh, but you guys talk about race so much. Because this society doesn't let you escape it most of the time. It's the first thing people notice about you. I notice how people get skittish when I go to certain stores and they're telling their sales associates to follow me. I've worked in retail where they've told me to follow other people, people that look like me, black and brown people. I'm like, why? I don't want to do that. You know, they still, you know how they are. How are they? I lived in a all-white neighborhood and I had a house invasion. The person wasn't a black person. They had a really high crime rate there. When I had first separated from my husband, I ended up leaving there because it was really crime-stricken. So crime is not a racial thing. Crime is a crime. There are good and bad people in every race. That's all I have to say. Are you for us or against us? Are you an ally? Being silent is like saying that you agree with it. The KKK under President Trump is not considered a hate group, but Black Lives Matters is. Saying all lives matter. Black Lives Matters is not about all lives matter. It's not about saying that black lives are better or brown lives are better. Black Lives Matters is saying that our lives matter too. There's so much colorism in our community. Oh, this person has it better because they look a certain way. Because it's that whole Jim Crow paper bag test, divide and conquer thing. And this is why I talk about the stuff that I talk about. Because I'm the daughter of a beautiful dark-skinned black woman who admitted to me that she never dated anybody who looked like her because she didn't want me to go through what she went through. Do you know, are you listening to that? There are people that purposely lighten up their kids because your society makes you hate that within yourself. Society makes you think that because you have darker skin, you're not as beautiful as other people. Because you have a certain nose or certain lips. But yet another race of people have those very same features, yet that's beautiful. But it's not beautiful within our community when we have those traits. It's a lot. It's a lot. I don't care who he dated. I don't care who his girlfriend is, if she really is his girlfriend or not. I don't care. His ex-girlfriend, the mother of his children, and his family got interviewed. She's a beautiful black woman. They seem like they had a really good relationship, even though they weren't together anymore. But you have people, the media, trying to push this lady. Oh, you know, like, who cares who he dated? I don't care what race of woman he dated after the mother of his children. That doesn't matter. Like, I don't want to see division. Like, this is a human being that was killed. And now they're saying that the guy who was stepping on his neck, they actually worked because the cop had a second job as a security in a nightclub. That they actually knew each other. They worked for the same company. So, and just the way that he kept his knee on his neck while this guy pleaded for his life and said, I can't breathe and please let me up. And he just wouldn't do it. Everybody wants to quote Martin Luther King. Oh, Martin Luther King was peace and I have a dream. Martin Luther King also said even though he didn't condone violence, he understood it because it's a symptom of something. When I feel like this, I quote Malcolm X. Nobody ever gives Malcolm X any credit for anything. Sometimes, and I'm not condoning violence, the only way people listen is when these things happen. This country has gone to war for other things. We went to war for and ended up abolishing slavery through war. Sometimes there's a time for peace, and then there's a time for standing up for justice. Sometimes the pain is so strong because this is not just about George Floyd. This is about hundreds of years of oppression of black and brown people. This is about the 60% of people that died of COVID, that are being affected by COVID-19, and the lack of health care, the people that are being turned away from hospitals. All the people that lost their jobs. The failure of our government. Enough is enough. People are tired, and they're angry, and they're hurt. They're tired of praying. They're tired of turning the other cheek. And so they march. Where they're being gassed and thrown things at too. Yet, when they were protesting to stay in order, Trump was like, these are American heroes, and these people have AR-15 and spit in cops' faces. None of those people got tased, killed on live television. But brown and black people want to march with their white allies, and they're treated like animals, so they get violent. Again, I'm not condoning it, but I understand it. I grew up in the South Bronx. I've seen police brutality. And no, not all cops are like this. But we have to be honest about stereotypes and racial profiling. A lot of people get nervous about brown people. There's just a certain stereotype that people have. And we need to be real and honest. Racism will never end, or its wounds, or its effects, unless we're willing to openly talk about it. And so this is a video, that's what it's about. Hashtag we can't breathe. What are you going to do today? Are you going to watch the news and say, oh, it sucks, be sad for 5 minutes and move on? Or are you willing to stand up with your black and brown brothers and sisters in this spiritual community and say, we got you. We're going to march with you. You know, because that's what happened in the civil rights movement. It was black and brown people, and there were white people that marched with us, with Martin Luther King. Are we going to stand up for indigenous people? Are we going to be allies to this marginalized group? I had a family member, and a lot of you didn't know, that was part of the reason why I went on a spiritual retreat. They went missing since last month, and I knew they were alive. I did cards and this stuff, and I did readings, and I did all this stuff for you guys. But I was like, I'm gonna go on a spiritual retreat, and part of my spiritual retreat was to go and look for this person. We found him. He was where I thought they were. They were there against their will. I'm not gonna get into the story of it, but this person was missing for a month, and because he was a black Latino who was gay, the police never really looked for him. It was his family, us, who went and found him. My family members kept, oh, you know, it was as if they would make derogatory statements. They wouldn't look for him hard, and I couldn't help it. Like, if he was a cis white man who was affluent, who went missing, he would have been on the news already. There's so many brown and black people that go missing a year. They don't get headlines in the news when they go missing and they're kidnapped. Then the low totem pole. our children too, when they go missing too. They don't really, nobody wants to watch that. That's their excuse really. And these kids are lost in the system. I want you to ask yourself one question when you say, but I don't have privilege. When you go outside, are you afraid of the police? When you're in danger, do you say, oh, let's call the cops? Do you see them as people that are going to help you? Do you have to worry about representing a whole group of people by your conduct? Just think about it. Much love, light, and blessings. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Until the next video.